Hello, everyone. Happy Monday, and welcome to another recording of the Attractions Podcast. As you can see today, right now, I am by myself. My usual co host, Carly, is off today. And we will have our co host, Blake, who will be subbing in today, hopefully logging in very shortly. He's having a little bit of technical issues. It's Monday. What are you going to do? But while we are waiting for Blake to jump into the chat, let us see who is already here and leaving us comments. And first in today was Labrelli, wishing a good morning to everyone. Thank you. And then, of course, next up, it wouldn't be a Monday recording without Mr. Michael Bingham. It's 7 days till Michael's birthday, so wishing you a happy birthday countdown. And Michael, like myself, installed the new Indiana Jones game from Microsoft, from Xbox. He's got it on the Xbox Series X. I have been running it on my laptop, which is overheating, groaning from the graphics. But the game is pretty good so far. So, Vince Lamb, wishing a happy Monday and a happy Christmas card day to me and everyone else. Thank you, Vince. We've got Michael McKay checking in from North Carolina. He's excited to see Blake. So am I. Hopefully his computer will cooperate. Jeremy is checking in. And we've got Blossom and Michelangelo in Derek Ho's corner as always. And right now, Brian Sager is jumping in. He's got some sad face because it is checkout day, waiting for the Mir shuttle back home to New York from Pop Century. Thoughts and prayers going back up to the New York weather after enjoying the really nice mild weather we've had here in Orlando. We had a really cold week, but then the last few days have been really lovely. So I'm glad that you enjoyed the weather and that you enjoyed the crowds over at Magic Kingdom. Glad it was worth it, and that you got to do Tiana's Country Bear. And yeah, I also have mixed thoughts about the Hatbox Ghost in Magic Kingdom's Haunted Mansion, but it is good seeing him. So thank you all so much for checking in. Right now we have 60-something people in the chat. I am going to check one more time with Blake to see if he's going to be able to join us. If anyone has, we could do a very brief Ask Me Anything before we start recording here. If anyone has ever had a question that they've wanted to ask from me or, Attractions here at the podcast, now's your chance to drop it in the chat while we wait another minute for Blake to hopefully solve his connection issues. As you can tell, I am a better writer than an improviser. So this is my version of trying to stall. Oh, wait, we have Blake, adding him to the stage. Yes, the man of the hour.
I'm here.
Great
So
to
sorry
see
about
you.
that.
No problem. You worth the wait. Great to
I don't
see
know
you.
about that. Good to see you too.
So we have already checked in with all the folks in the chat.
Great.
John Self checking in. Thank you so much, John. If you want to read about the foods available for the holidays at the parks in Central Florida, definitely check out John's latest articles on our website, because God bless him. He's eaten everything and told us what's good and what's bad. Better him than me.
John had an exclusive this week at Busch
Oh,
Gardens with
oh,
Manolo Gonzalez Vergara, Sofia Vergara's son,
ooh.
who's opening up a restaurant there. So be sure to check that out.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, now that everyone is here and we've got almost 80 people Checking in. John is fasting today. I totally understand what you mean after seeing all the things you've eaten recently. I feel you. All right, we are, I believe, all ready to go. So let us get that set up. Okay, we are going to kick this thing off in 3, 2.
Please lower your head and watch your step while boarding.
Welcome to the Attractions Podcast. You are all clear for dispatch. Have fun.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Attractions Podcast, sponsored by MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. I am Seth.
And I'm Blake.
And we are here to talk to you about the latest and greatest in theme park news and more, as well as what's going on in our own lives. And as you can see, my usual co-host, Carly, is off this week. Thank you so much to Blake for jumping into the rotation. It's been a minute since you've been here. So let everyone know who you are and what you've been up to recently.
Yeah, happy to jump in on Carly's behalf. It's an exciting reason that she's away. She's on the treasure this week, so I'm sure she'll have lots to talk about when she gets back.
We're going to pump her in for information when she is back for her next episode. But in the meantime, thank you so much for volunteering to step in.
Of course, I'm the managing editor for our written content at attractionsmagazine.com. So our articles, reviews, features, all that stuff, I oversee our team of writers who brings that to you.
And have you gotten a chance to step out of the office recently and actually go to any theme parks?
I was at Carowinds last night for a brief little visit for Winterfest. So I got to see just a quick lap around the park, look at all the lights, went on the Sky Tower to check in on construction because they're expanding their Camp Snoopy area at the moment. Not really too much to see. I was hoping to grab some photos, reconstruct style of what's going on, but it's basically just an empty field right now. But
well, I've heard nothing but great things about Carowinds from Carly and everyone else. It is definitely on my bucket list. I didn't get that far from home this week, but I did get to do a marathon session at Epcot, taking the Skyliner over to Hollywood Studios and then back again to check out, first of all, the best Christmas present that Disney has given us regular visitors this season, which is the new single rider line that's active at Ratatouille.
Yes.
75-minute posted wait, 9-minute actual wait for single riders. Fantastic. But Disney giveth and they taketh away. The single rider line at Rise of the Resistance, for a while, you were getting to see the briefing. You were getting to do the whole pre-show. Now they're back to skipping you through the back corridor straight to the Stormtrooper scene. And the wait was only about 15 to 20 minutes shorter than doing standby. For a short while, that Rise of the Resistance single rider was a beautiful thing. But it was great seeing all the holiday decorations up, seeing some of my friends who do the holiday shows around Epcot, which some of my favorite live entertainment of the year. And I got to see Whoopi Goldberg in person doing the narration for the Candlelight Processional. And she was fantastic. She actually got a little emotional because she had been away for a couple of years. And she got a little emotional talking about, people that she recognized that she had missed from her couple of years away. So it was great seeing her. All right. Well, without any further ado, I think it is time for us to jump right into the news in the queue. So I think we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to spring this on Blake, and hopefully he goes along. Normally, I do a lot of the talking, but since Blake himself wrote all of the articles that we are going to be discussing this week, I'm going to kind of read the headline and then sort of turn it over to you, because you definitely know these stories even better than I do. So we are starting off this week over at DinoLand USA in Disney's Animal Kingdom at Walt Disney World. And if you are a fan of that original theme park land, we got good news and bad news. The good news is that you have all the way through the end of 2025 to ride the Dinosaur ride before it becomes Indiana Jones. The bad news is you only have until January 12th to enjoy Chester and Hester's Dino-Rama, because that will be permanently closed starting January 13th. So that's kind of the overlook. So Blake, why don't you walk us through this article that you wrote and give us a little bit of the details?
Yeah, so some of this information is not super old news, but it was previously announced. The new bit of the information is that Dinosaur itself, like Seth said, will be open, quote, through 2025 is what Disney said. So they stopped short of basically saying it's going to close in 2026, but they basically implied that, as Seth said, it will be open for the duration of 2025. They advertised it along with their list of special events and deals and discounts and stuff like that for 2025. So it was, I would assume if you are taking a vacation anytime in 2025, you will be able to ride Dinosaur, which I think surprised a lot of people because, again, as Tez said, and this was previously announced, Dino-Rama is closing right around the corner in about a month on January 13th. So that includes Triceratops Spin, that includes those Carnival Midway games, and that includes Chester and Hester's Dinosaur Treasures, the gift shop.
Honestly, the gift shop, I think, is the only part of all of that I will really miss, because that gift shop's a work of kitschy art. If you love just vintage tacky stuff, the decorations of that model train that goes around the perimeter of the inside, that I hope that it's maybe some little fragments of that can be preserved. That and the folk art Mr. Imagination statue of the dinosaur right outside of it. That's a true work of art, and I hope that gets rescued.
And the gift shop, I didn't realize this until pretty recently. The gift shop is an opening day establishment. It predates even the other Chester and Hester stuff, which was added later, which I thought was interesting that they kind of expanded the story just from that one particular gift shop. But they haven't said how long Dinosaur or how long the transition will take after Dinosaur closes to Indiana Jones. They have said that this whole Tropical Americas area will open in 2027. Does that mean the beginning of 2027 or toward the end? We don't know.
It's a wide range.
Yeah. With these attractions that we've seen this in the past where a long-running attraction will close, and it basically, the ride stays the same, but just the theming and the story around it changes. And there's been varying degrees of timelines for that. For example, Tower of Terror out in California, that was a 6-month turnaround. Probably, I think less than that, something like 5 or 4 months before it transitioned into Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. Whereas something like Frozen Ever After, transitioning from Maelstrom, that was 2 years. So it's kind of all over the place. Tiana's
part of the difference between those. Part of the difference between those two, because we have a great article in our archives about that transformation of Guardians of the Galaxy. One was done by an outside third party that had a very tight budget, and the other one was done by Disney Imagineering with basically a blank check. So that you can see, but it does, you do point out that if they want to get the whole land done, open, presumably with a grand opening all done at the same time, the fact that they are clearing out Chester and Hester's side now to work on the Encanto attraction, whereas they feel like they can keep running Dinosaur for another full year, says that the work that's going to be done on the inside of Dinosaur is mostly going to be, changing out sets and reprogramming things, but the basic ride is going to be exactly the same.
Right. And all the infrastructure is there. With Encanto, you're building everything from the ground up, which is, of course, a big difference too. So,
speaking of Encanto, we really don't have a lot on Encanto yet, other than kind of an outside view that they're building the Madrigal house, the Enchanted Casita, and that the ride inside. we can't even really tell what kind of ride system it is. I hope it's a trackless ride system, because this seems like a perfect story to adapt to the Mystic Manor or Pooh's Honey Hunt style
That's
ride too.
definitely what comes to mind first is the Mystic Manor
Mhm.
idea. We also know that this takes place in the middle of the film when Antonio receives his gifts, which I think that is curious narratively, because at that point in the story, Mirabelle is not doing so great. Like, she's kind of
Yeah.
having a little bit of a
Emotional
existential.
crisis.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I'm curious to see how that plays out in the attraction, because
Yeah.
yeah, that's just an interesting point in her arc specifically. But I understand
Yep.
as it relates to Animal Kingdom, that is a logical stepping in point, because Antonio can speak to animals and his whole room is animal
Mhm.
themed. And so, but yeah, you got a lot of kind of stuff to unpack there.
Yeah. And then I thought it was interesting that you mentioned in this article that maybe the last people to get to experience the old DinoLand will be people taking part in the Walt Disney World Marathon, right?
Yes. The final day of operation for Dino-Rama happens to be, or maybe not so happens to be,
Mhm.
the day of the Walt Disney World Marathon, the full marathon. I believe that final one on the Sunday of the marathon weekend there.
Yeah.
And this was so they released the map prior to them saying anything about the specific opening or closing dates of Dino-Rama. They had distributed this race course map, and it traveled through DinoLand and Dino-Rama. So we kind of like took a little bit of a assumption there to say, like, well, basically that means it can't close before January 13th, and then
Mhm.
lo and behold, it closes on January 13th.
Yep.
So
So of course, follow us online for more information about what is replacing Dinoland. And just a reminder, what is not replacing Dinoland is Zootopia or Moana. Those were early Blue Sky ideas that they teased to us. But we are getting a Zootopia Better Together 3D show replacing Tough to Be a Bug sometime in winter 2025. And I'm never quite sure when they say winter 2025, I assume they mean December, not January, because those are both technically winter of 2025.
right,
They're just
right,
two
right.
different winters.
I do think it's curious that we still don't know in all that when It's Tough to Be a Bug is
Yeah,
closing. So
no
I don't
closing date.
no
Yeah,
closing date.
it's going to be if you are a fan of the 4D films currently running at Walt Disney World, get your last
That's
viewings
right.
in, right? Because I guess it's going to be a race between who closes first. It's Tough to Be a Bug or Muppet Vision.
Muppets.
It might
I
be
did
neck and
some
neck.
digging though, because I wanted to verify for this story. I don't believe Disney has outright said in writing It's Tough to Be a Bug is closing. So I don't know if it would be some sort of Impressions de France, Beauty and the Beast situation. I assume
No.
that it's closing, but I don't think they've actually specifically said that. I think everyone has just, myself included, assumed that.
That's interesting. All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that for you, and keep an eye on attractionsmagazine.com for more details. Next up, uh, if you are a fan of the defunct Disneyland parades from 3 decades ago, you are in luck, because the classic Lion King celebration and Mulan parade are being at least temporarily resurrected for 90s Night, which is coming to Disneyland After Dark in 2025 as one of the Disneyland After Dark nights that they are running this year. And this one looks like a lot of fun if you are nostalgic for the 1990s.
Have you been to one of these Disneyland After Dark events?
I went to the Villains Night when they had that, which was
Okay.
kind of like a Halloween event in the middle of the summer. That one has not continued.
Okay. Interesting.
Uh, but I would actually like to go and check out Star Wars Night myself. I'm a little older to be super nostalgic about 90s. They had that Disney Channel event right? That they're
Yes,
not
I was.
bringing back this
Yeah,
year. So I guess
I
this is
thought
the
that was a pretty
closest thing.
surprising omission for as much traction as that seemed. Attention, I guess I saw
Yeah.
more attention on social media for that particular night than any of the others last year.
Yeah.
That was the event. Our listeners might remember was the infamous site of the Perry the Platypus dance party videos. All of that stuff that went viral was from that particular event, but it's not coming back this year,
No.
which is somewhat surprising. But you have
But
90 instead. So,
but you do have 90s night, which is going to take place on March 4th and the 6th. So just 2 nights. And I mentioned in the headline, the headliner attraction of this is going to be a parade celebration that is going to evoke, resurrect. Well, I'm not entirely sure. It can't be an exact copy of the Lion King celebration because those parade floats are busy being the set for the Lion King show at Disney's Animal Kingdom, which is where they retired to. But maybe there's some smaller floats they can pull out of storage, along with parts of the old Mulan parade, and that one ran back in '98. I never got to see either of those in person myself. Did you?
no, I didn't either. But I mean, of course, I've seen Lion King at Animal Kingdom, and but yeah, I think this is a cool idea of, like you said, I'm sure it won't be like a full, huge scale production necessarily, but I do think it's cool, even if it's like just the size of a cavalcade or something, of paying tribute to some of these older productions that people might remember. And I don't know if they'll include any other 90s parades in there. I think, what else did they have in the night? There was Aladdin. Was that in Disneyland as well, or just over here?
Yeah, I honestly, I did not visit Disneyland much in the '90s. Actually, never. I think my first visit there was in the early 2000s. So I don't really know the old Disneyland parades too well. But if you do and you are nostalgic for the '90s, you better get on it for these tickets, because they go on sale to the general public on December 12th, and they're going on sale to different tiers of Magic Key pass holders in the 2 days leading up to that. So basically, if you are watching this live as we're recording this, or listening to this as soon as it comes out, you want to jump online because these are going to sell out pretty quick. Other details you might be interested in: the events take place from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. Ticket prices start at $149. And in addition to the Disneyland After Dark 90s nights, there are also the Star Wars nights that I mentioned, taking place between April 8th and May 6th on select evenings, plus Sweethearts nights from January 21st through February 13th, but for some reason not actually on Valentine's Day. Don't get that. And finally, Pride nights this year on June 16th and 18th of 2025.
Weston in the chat asked, will Powerline be performing at 90s night? I don't know about a performance, but it does seem very likely that you'll be able to meet Max dressed as Powerline.
Absolutely. And if you want to see what that experience looks like, we have a video on our YouTube channel of greeting 90s Disney characters at a previous 90s night event. So head on over to our YouTube and check that out.
And we'll be talking about Powerline a little bit later on in the show.
Absolutely. Yes, we will. Can't get enough of them. We are going to head to the other side of the planet very briefly and talk about Tokyo Disneyland, which is going to be transformed into Vanellope's Sweet Pop World for a Wreck-It Ralph celebration, which will be the third Disney Palooza event, coming to Tokyo Disneyland from January 15th through March 16th of 2025. And having just visited Tokyo Disneyland a few weeks ago, and just being overwhelmed by how much there is to do, and how adorable everything is, that like you almost get cavities just from how like everything is so kawaii would be the word. They're adding an extra level of sugar frosting on top of everything, with the Vanellope character from Wreck-It Ralph. This looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting and unique, and I would wonder if, I mean, I guess Disneyland does this to an extent with Disneyland After Dark with those themes, but in those seasons where it's not Halloween, it's not the end of the year holidays, having some sort of special event that's not based around a calendar holiday or an anniversary, I think is pretty abnormal for most Disney parks. So what Tokyo Disneyland has started doing is having these multi-month celebrations, festivals, campaigns, whatever you'd like to call them, based around one specific character, and kind of drawing out the style and the personality of the character into various decorations, parades, the Mickey floral out front, and as you enter the park. So this time it's Vanellope von Schweetz from Wreck-It Ralph. Yeah. So quite and I would say quite a, not super obscure, but the prior ones prior to Vanellope have been Minnie Mouse and Donald Duck. So pretty big names there. And then number 3, you got Vanellope. But I do think all this looks super, super fun. Merchandise, special food, quite an extensive list of special food items. A whole Vanellope parade, a whole hotel room makeover if you want to have a hotel room that is Vanellope themed in its decor and its bedding and all that kind of stuff. So this, I almost wonder if this is kind of a test the waters for to see how guests respond to something so Wreck-It Ralph centric, because Tokyo is, of course, currently under construction on a permanent Wreck-It Ralph attraction that's replacing their version of Buzz Lightyear, which just recently closed. So I almost wonder if this is kind of like a test pilot of how prepared should we be for the public to. They're definitely building the ride no matter what, but I guess, you know, I could see this being almost like a case study of what else should we be planning around that to support the launch of that attraction.
Yeah, it's kind of judge, you know, how much merchandise, how much food, how much to go all in on this. Yeah, that new Wreck-It Ralph attraction, there wasn't really nothing special about the version of Buzz Lightyear's Astro Blasters that they had out there. It was basically same as Disneyland's. So I'm excited for them. It's coming in fiscal year 2026, which means sometime October 2025 or later. But yeah, that's going to kind of transform that Astro Blasters ride into the Sugar Rush racing game. Though I guess it's going to be a slow speed racing game. The same people who complained that Mario Kart was just a slow speed ride will probably also complain that this one is too.
They mentioned King Candy in their little brief blurb that they shared about the ride storyline. So he's personally my favorite Disney villain. So I'm interested to see if he's actually in the ride or if he's just part of the lore of the story.
Hopefully he'll make an appearance in there somewhere. And other things coming up at Tokyo Disneyland in the near future include It's a Small World with Groot, which is a temporary overlay with Marvel characters, versions of the classic ride. And that is going to be opening up in January 15th and running through June 30th of 2025.
Yes, Universal Japan finally doesn't have their Spider-Man anymore, which opens the door for Tokyo Disneyland to now have Marvel attractions. So this is a pretty significant milestone for them.
Yep. Though of all the ways you could dip your toes in the water with Marvel, It's a Small World. I did not have that on my bingo card as the first thing, but
it looks super.
I'll reserve judgment till I see it in person, or at least good quality videos. The characters are adorable, but we'll see how they fit in with the classic Mary Blair art in there.
And it is temporary.
And it's temporary. Exactly. If it's awful, it'll go away. So that's fine. All right, and for our last piece of news in the queue this week, we are heading to Universal Studios Singapore, where they have confirmed that the new Minion Land will finally open in 2025, and its Minion Cafe will feature some really adorable food. We've got some great pictures here of things like their vegan burger, their curry rice, and other specialty items themed to the Minions and Despicable Me.
Yeah, so this is a delay. So they had initially announced that Minion Land in Singapore would be open by the end of 2024. So this is, but only slightly. So it'll open in February, just a few months behind that initial announcement. I have yet to visit Minion Land in Florida, so I'm familiar with the differences, I suppose, but I have not dipped my toes in the water to any Minion Land,
Oh, wow.
including the Minion Cafe. So that will all be new to me whenever I get out to Universal Studios Florida next.
So it will have, from what I understand, the Singapore version will have some similarities and some differences. They will have a version of the Despicable Me Minion Mayhem simulator ride, which has been at Universal Studios Florida for more than a decade now. About 15 years, isn't it? And then, maybe not quite that long. But then they will also have a Minion eatery. They've got Super Hungry Food Stand, which is their version of the Minion Cafe. But they're not going to have the Villain Con ride, which is the moving walkway shooting dark ride that we have. But what they do have is some really adorable looking food. It looks like there's some similarities. They do have the Minion Tots, the tater tots shaped like minions, like we do. But they've got some exclusive things. And the one that really caught my eye was the curry that it looks like a curry with karaage. And it comes with a scoop of rice that's got a minion eye on it. So it looks like a minion's head sticking up out of the curry. That one's pretty cute.
Very much reminiscent of the Minion overlooking the highway over there in California.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then on the sweeter side, we've got a fluffy unicorn cake here that is extremely colorful. And my teeth are aching just looking at that. So the other thing that they will have that is not found in the other Minion Lands is the Buggy Boogie Carousel. And they've also got a Silly Swirly Balloon Ride along with that Despicable Me simulator.
I believe that carousel is being advertised as the world's first Minions dance party on a carousel.
Oh,
In case
interesting.
you were wondering, yes, the world's first, because I'm sure there will be
everything's got to be a world's first. You got to advertise it. They broke ground on this back in 2024, and like you said, it was originally supposed to be open by the end of this year. So make your plans February 14th if you are planning on going to opening day. All right. That brings us to the end of this week's news in the queue. Before we jump into this week's main attraction, it's time to hear a word from our sponsor.
The Attractions Podcast is brought to you by MEI and MEI-Travel. Whether your next vacation is a magical trip to the theme parks, an exciting adventure to the pyramids of Egypt, or just a relaxing cruise on the turquoise waters of the Bahamas, MEI-Travel provides premium service and expert advice to help you get the most of your vacation. They are always free of any hidden fees or costs to you. Visit them at mei-travel.com.
It's time for the main attraction!
Okay, for this week's main attraction, we are heading to Anaheim, where the original Disneyland theme park is going to be celebrating its 70th anniversary in 2025. And they have dropped some details on how they are going to celebrate that big milestone anniversary with an event that will stretch from May 16th of 2025 all the way through the summer of 2026. And Blake put together a article detailing all of the things that'll be happening, most of which we already knew about, some of which we've got new details about. So let's start it off with Walt Disney: A Magical Life, which is taking over the Main Street Opera House, at least temporarily. Eventually, Abe Lincoln will be back. But what they are doing is proved a little bit controversial, right, Blake?
Yeah, so they're adding a biographical presentation about Walt Disney's life, but the headline portion of it, I suppose, is it will have the first ever audio animatronics figure of Walt Disney. They've never had that before. They've had things like, there's Walt Disney Presents at Hollywood Studios over in Florida, and I know they have like the Disneyland history film with Steve Martin and Donald Duck back in this theater for a previous anniversary. But they've never actually had an audio animatronic Walt Disney. I think the closest that they've had is, did you get a chance to see the deep fake? Is that the right word for it? The Walt that they had at the Disney 100 exhibit in Philadelphia.
Oh, it was an AI assisted,
Yes.
hologram or whatever. Yes, life-size projection. I didn't get to interact with it myself, but I saw videos of that.
I did see that. It wasn't like, it was basically just like 30 seconds or so of a video. It wasn't like he could talk to you and you could talk back or anything like that. But I think that's the closest that we've gotten to something like this. But this is a full-fledged robot Walt.
It's tough. On the one hand, you have some of his descendants, some of his grandkids who are on board and supportive and have said that it's a great thing. You have other grandkids who say it's terrible and that grandpa wouldn't have wanted this. And there is a lot of documentation of people who are close with Walt, original Imagineers saying we would never want to do this, that this is something that shouldn't happen. But I guess times change. The thing that I keep thinking of is that when Hall of Presidents opened, John F. Kennedy had only been dead for less than a decade, and they felt perfectly okay with taking a beloved president who had been assassinated just a few years earlier and turning them into an animatronic. So since Walt has been dead longer than most of the visitors to his parks have been alive, I don't know, maybe it's long enough that it's okay to do it. I'm not sure what the statute of limitations is before it's okay to turn a former living human being into an animatronic. I don't know. I guess. Moving right along. The other thing that was just announced, I don't think we had details on this previously,
Correct.
would be a new version of World of Color, and this one's called Happiness. So what do we know about this?
So this is like Seth said, an all new version of World of Color, not like a little prologue pre-show. This is a completely new show. It's going to be hosted by the Emotions of Inside Out, which makes sense. That was it's the #1 animated movie of all time, Inside Out 2. So the whole campaign around Disneyland's 70th anniversary is really emphasizing that Disneyland is the happiest place on earth, and they're emphasizing that word happiness in all of its various parts of speech, if you will, in some of the titles of these things that they're rolling out, including this new World of Color show. And of course, so the transition or the link there, I suppose, is if you think who could host a show about happiness, Joy is pretty close to happy. So rather than one of the dwarfs, they're going to go with Joy from Inside Out, which is probably the better choice.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because we have this piece of concept art showing some of the characters that we presume will be in the show. And you've got all the emotions from Inside Out right up front. And then you've got, modern characters from things like Turning Red, from Wish, from Encanto, even Frozen in there. But the only hand-drawn classic characters we've got Scar and Ursula that are just way back in the back corner, and it's almost like it looks like this is definitely going to be focusing on newer, more recent IPs, and I think some of those classic characters are going to be on the sidelines for this one.
And as we mentioned, one of those characters that
Mm.
is in the concept art is none other than Powerline from a
Yes.
Goofy movie. Some of the unique things that sometimes these nighttime spectaculars or parades do will link different characters or songs that you normally would not put together, but it
Mhm.
just works. Like, for example, Happily Ever After at Magic Kingdom, the pairing of Mufasa's Ghost in the Sky with Go the Distance is not something that I would probably ever think of, but it works
Mhm.
very, very well. So kind of in that same spirit, in this new World of Color show, it seems like maybe Powerline might share a montage or something with Four Town, the
Yes.
boy band from Turning Red.
That
So
that would be a great mashup for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you think maybe could we get a mashup of like Eye to Eye with one of the Four Town songs, you think?
I think that might be in the cards. That would
Ride or
definitely
Die,
be a
Eye
hit.
to Eye. That would be pretty cool.
Of course, in addition to the shows, we've also got anniversary decorations going up on the castle, which frankly look a bit more colorful and eye-catching than the last set of anniversary decorations that they had, I think, from the
Yeah,
concept
all of
art.
the branding is kind of in alignment with this color palette of very bright yellows, reds,
Mhm.
pinks. It aligns with the logo that they shared as well. There's a coffee table book coming out that is the same kind of design as this. So this seems to be kind of the graphic palette, if you will,
Mhm.
of the anniversary celebration.
And of course, that graphic palette has also been used on Mickey and Minnie's new costumes.
Yes.
Very vibrant, and you'll be able to greet with Mickey and their friends in these new costumes in Town Square. There's also some new projections that are going to be on It's a Small World. And of course, we've talked in previous episodes about the Paint the Night Parade coming back to Disneyland Park along with Wondrous Journeys, the fireworks and projection show, which one of my favorites. That one is going to be coming back on select nights too. And then if we hop over to Disney California Adventure, in addition to the World of Color Happiness that we just talked about and some projections on Carthay Circle Restaurant, they're bringing back the Better Together Pixar Pals Celebration Parade. So a whole lot of entertainment coming. And like you mentioned, that new coffee table book is called The Happiest Place on Earth. Comes from Don Han and Christopher Merritt. And that's going to be published on July 15th, but you can pre-order it now. We've got
And
a
I
link.
believe one of the options for the D23
Yes.
member gift includes this book as well.
Yeah,
It's just-
along with
yeah.
a replica plaque of the plaque that's above from the dedication of Disneyland, which tying it right back to the beginning, that's where the phrase to all who come to this happy place, welcome.
There you go.
And there you get. So we're gonna be happy, happy, happy. We are not going to deal with anything that is darker or more complex emotions. We are just letting joy take over this summer.
And this is all starts on everything that we just talked about starts May 16th.
Yep.
So
it's about a month before the actual anniversary.
So theoretically, if you wanted to, you could have a really awesome theme park week and go to the opening day of this on May 16th.
Yeah.
You could go to the final Universal Fan Fest nights on the 18th.
Yes.
And you could hightail it across the country for the opening day of Epic Universe on the 22nd.
Yes, and that will all cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
If you can even get a ticket. I'm not going to opening day of Epic Universe because I could not get a ticket for opening day of Epic Universe. But I'll be there a week later, so
Okay,
I'll spread it out. But that does sound like a great itinerary for an amazing theme park May for sure. All right.
Michael in the chat said it feels like Disney's always having an anniversary, which is true.
Yeah.
Disney 100. I'm sure they'll go even bigger than what we have for the 70th, for the 75th in a couple years.
Disney will never pass up an opportunity to merchandise and market an anniversary for sure. Before we wrap up this episode, let's check in to see if we have any more comments. And I want to give a shout out to Weston Lawrence, who left us a bunch of great comments today, and don't have time to read all of them. But definitely liked the new DreamWorks Land over at Universal. Thought that was better than Disney's Kids Lands. And wanted to give a shout out to our friend Cindy Bingham. Thanks for checking in. And we've got so many comments here. It's hard to keep up with all of them while doing this live. But we had a suggestion from Carmine C. Dinosaur. They want an actual character of Powerline from a Goofy movie in the Disney parks. You will maybe get that opportunity if you go to the 90s night that we talked about. I don't hear anything about that being a permanent part of the park. So you'll have to hope that you can run into him at one of these events. All right, and I think I'm going to give the last word to Brian Sager, saying that it's been over 10 plus years since the 60th anniversary of Disneyland, which is kind of crazy. But he feels that the Walt animatronic is bigger news, and some of his grandkids did approve of the animatronic. So we will see. We will see. All right. Before we go, I want to thank our sponsor, MEI and MEI-Travel. I want to remind everyone to please give us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you're watching us here on YouTube, please give us a like and subscribe. And be sure to follow us at attractionsmagazine.com and search for Attractions Magazine on your favorite social media accounts. Blake, where can folks keep up with you?
They can keep up with myself and the rest of the writing team at attractionsmagazine.com for continuous coverage, features, opinion articles, reviews. We got our publishers on the Disney Treasure at the moment checking in right about now, I think.
Yep.
So we'll have lots of fun stuff from the new ship. We have our movie reviewer going to an advanced screening of Mufasa in a couple of days. So we got a lot of fun stuff coming up.
And you can find me and my brand new Unofficial Guide to Universal Orlando 2025 book at theunofficialguides.com, or find me on socials at skuberski. And until next time, we hope you folks stay safe, try something new, but most importantly, have fun. And we'll see you again next time. Take care.